Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's poppin', Fantasy Champs? Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me, as always.
What's up?
How we doing, Ricardo?
I'm good, man. It's kind of interesting. We don't have football this week unless you want to watch the Pro Bowl, which you probably do.
I mean, I kind of want to see Mac because I'm a big Mac guy.
Well, you tell me how well he played against players that won't tackle.
I don't even want to watch. I was telling Rick prior to the program that they should switch it to a joint bye week for everyone midway through the season and then do the Pro Bowl then.
That would make more sense. Make it like, every other sport. Literally every single other sport does that. Basketball, hockey, baseball.
In the home team,
I'm assuming the MLS does something
doesn't
like
matter
that.
in the Super Bowl.
What is it?
The home team doesn't matter in the Super Bowl, so.
Oh yeah, for like a reward, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what they do in baseball, but they don't do it. They don't do that in basketball.
Give
right?
them a big check if they participate in the game.
Yeah, there you go. Big bonus.
Money.
And
Got
then
to
if
make
you
it more
win,
entertaining. It's not.
if you win in the Pro Bowl, give them an extra bonus.
It's gotten worse since they moved it to prior to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know.
It kind of sucks, but anyway,
It does.
the Pro Bowl is the only football that we have this week, and then next week is the biggest game of the year: Super Bowl, Bengals, Rams. If you didn't watch on Sunday and you recorded it for whatever reason, you old man, that's who's in the Super Bowl. Honestly, if I played this for myself 2 weeks ago, I would have been laughing at you.
Oh yeah. I tweeted this out too, like 2 years ago. If you would have told me, or 2 or 3 years ago, you would say Matt Stafford was playing the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl. What would you say?
What kind of drugs you on?
Exactly.
Because that is
something hardcore.
Yeah. You were playing Madden and you rebuilt your
Yes.
Bengals squad to go to the Super Bowl.
And then the CPU traded Matt Stafford to the Patriots. Or not the Patriots because in the AFC, but a team like that.
Yeah.
I guess they did. The Rams.
The Rams. Yes. So the Rams Bengals in the Super Bowl next week. I think on the Thursday show, maybe we'll throw some predictions at you about what's going to happen in the
Super Bowl predictions?
Super Bowl predictions. But on this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast, we have the top free agent running backs for the 2022 season. We're going to give you fantasy football advice pertaining to some of these players and where we think they may or may not land. Depending on landing spot will affect how running backs in particular. Certainly it will affect what their status is for fantasy football moving forward. We got some interesting guys on the list that are trash. So this show should not be nearly as long as the other program we had last week, only because, like I said, the running backs are trash.
Yeah, I think the most interesting guy on this list might be the guy who's listed last on this list.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Last. Hold on a second. How many guys last is it?
He's number 7.
Ooh. Okay. All right. We'll talk about that. All right. So before we do that, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, any of those platforms. Just check us out. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, please leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and then comment down below any questions or concerns or comments that you might have for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you guys get everything right? You're so good at fantasy football and football in general.
Well, I'll tell you.
You know everything.
I'll tell you why. Because we are the best.
Honestly, don't disagree.
Like, Don't disagree. Yeah, no, we will hold that. You go back 2 weeks ago, and you can see or was it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? I can't even remember. It's already been a month since fantasy football ended, which is good.
Our Super Bowl prediction?
Because it's flying. No, I was talking about go watch the Biggest Misses episode, and you'll see how true our statements a second ago.
Oh yeah. Hey, but we got a lot of hits though. A lot of hits.
So you ready to jump into our top free agent running backs for the season?
Yes.
It's quite an interesting list. There's some teams out there that could want to sign some running backs.
Yes, there are teams out there that definitely need something at the running back position, but we'll see.
But anyway, so this list that we have populating in front of us is a PFF list. So we are just going off this list, and we're going to talk about, I believe, 7 guys, 7 main players.
Yes, 7 players.
I hope this is updated. Is this the right year? Yes, it is.
Yes,
January 19th,
yes,
2022. Yeah. All right. Yep. So first guy that we have on this list is Cordero Patterson. He had a really intriguing season. And the reason why is he was kind of like poor man's Deebo Samuel.
Yes, they used him like that.
Running back, wide receiver, whatever you want to say. They used him in multiple platitudes, if that's the word that is the correct word. Cordell Patterson ended up as the running back 9 in half PPR leagues, 208 fantasy points, 13 fantasy points per game.
Insane.
So a lot. It was shocking that if you told me at the beginning of the year that Cordero Patterson outscores Antonio Gibson, I would have been like, sorry, no, that's not happening. You're stupid. And most of it was because of Patterson's ability to pass catch and also providing some form of a rushing floor. He was PFF graded him at 82, an offensive grade of 82, which is 6th out of 61 qualifying.
Oh my gosh!
So he actually was good. Like he didn't suck. When you think about what Todd Gurley did the previous year, this puts Todd Gurley to shame. So
he does.
Cordero Patterson was actually decent. Now he's on a contract year, and he's going to hit free agency.
30 years old.
He's 30-year-old running back going to free agency. The projected contract is 2 years, $6 million. Rick, who could be in the market for such a running back?
Oh my gosh. It's so gross. I think, honestly, the perfect spot for him is going back to the Falcons. But looking at this, I think Sleeper, I don't know who wrote it, but Roto World, I guess, was saying that it's going to be hard for the Falcons to bring him back because they're very tight against the cap, and even though they want to, the chances are they
got to toss Matt Ryan to the Broods.
Yeah, so there's a good chance that he could go somewhere.
Who's looking for a gadget?
I feel like wherever
guy,
he goes, it's going to suck for fantasy. Yeah, I see Miami as a potential destination on this list. Which he would go to die. You would go to die, I think, and it doesn't really even fit too well. But they could use like a gadget-like player. They need a running back.
Yeah.
So Patterson is a potential landing spot for them, but I feel like wherever he goes, it's gonna be gross.
So, yeah, if I'm you at home and you like Cordell Patterson, I would hope for fantasy purposes that he doesn't leave Atlanta. And that's not because, honestly, if he was to go back to Atlanta, I still would be on the regression train. I'd be like, no, this guy can't do whatever he did this year, whatever that was. He can't do it again, fantasy-wise. So even if he goes back to Atlanta, I still have concerns, but his best shot at repeating what he did last year, even on a low level, being like maybe RB 14 or 15, would be what I would expect from him in Atlanta. If he leaves, no matter where he goes, it becomes much more difficult for him to flourish. And I think this year Atlanta used him like a running back. and he plays as a running back / wide receiver, similar to what San Fran was doing with Deebo Samuel. But he's a gadget guy, and he's always been a gadget guy. He was a gadget guy in New England. He was a gadget guy in Chicago, and he's a gadget guy in Atlanta. So wherever he goes, he's going to end up being a gadget, like wide receiver / running back who comes in. And that can be beneficial if he's used a lot, like he was in Atlanta, but it also could not be beneficial like it wasn't when he was with Chicago. So I don't see the upside for Cordero Patterson. He did have such a good year that he might be able to get up into that $7 million range. According to The Atlantic, in this piece of news I'm looking at on NBC Sports Edge, it said that a beat writer for The Atlantic said that Patterson getting $7 million a year would push him just out of the top 10 running back salaries last year. It's probably more likely that Patterson, 31 in March, will get something closer to what David Johnson got last year, which is $5 million, $4.2 million guaranteed, which would be the midpoint between this and what Patterson made last year. This is going to be one of the free agencies to watch, and fantasy managers should be rooting for Patterson to re-up. And he said that if someone steps up into the $7 million range, it's going to be hard for Atlanta to match that. So if we're assuming that it is the $5-6 million range like PFF projects, Cordero Patterson could be back in Atlanta. And I think if we had to take a guess, I'm going to have to say that is the most likely landing spot.
Yep.
But I could see a good team slide up. And
I think he's going to blow next year no matter where he goes.
I agree
but
so much.
He has his best chance of succeeding back in Atlanta where they can use him in a similar way.
Yeah. So I don't really have any projected landing spots for you other than to say
no. I would guess the Falcons too, though, but it's going to come down to money. And if a team is stupid enough to give him like $7 million or $8 million a year,
I know. All right, let's talk about the next guy, which is Leonard Fournette of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now,
playoff Lenny.
We got some hardcore breaking news on Saturday, and I live in the Northeast. Me and Rick both live in the Northeast, and we got pummeled with a snowstorm. Rick less so, but for me, I had literally, if you look up the snowstorm and you look in Massachusetts and you find the spot where they said the most snow happened, that was literally
that's where you live. That's your your place.
So 30 inches of snow hit me, and so anyway, I stuck inside freezing my butt off, and Tom Brady retired. So it was an interesting Sunday and Saturday afternoon. Tom Brady retires, and then they say he didn't retire. I want to say this publicly for everyone to know. Tom Brady is retiring from the NFL. That is happening.
Yes.
He was just triggered that he didn't get to do it with his production crew and his cute little videos. TB12 and all that crap. He didn't get to do it himself, which is fine. It is what it is. But Brady is retiring from the NFL. So anyone who says otherwise is nonsensical. Do you think Brady would be
Adam
pissed off
Schefter
enough?
Go ahead. Sorry.
What were you going to say? Sorry, I've been rambling.
I was just going to say when Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport both report the exact same thing, word for word, I think it's pretty clear that there's so many people like Schefter's wrong. ESPN doesn't know what they're talking about. Brady hasn't retired yet. No, he's retired. He's retired. Stop. But go ahead, because I know what you're going to ask.
Say what I was going to ask, because I looked at my phone.
Because you forgot. I think you were going to say, does this piss him off so much where he doesn't retire?
He doesn't retire and comes back.
And I think that is honestly a possibility. That'd be the only way he comes back. But
so hard that
like,
he just plays.
I'm not leaving. Yeah, and plays one more year. But I think he's done.
Yeah.
For the most part, that would be the only thing I could see him coming back for.
Yeah.
Just because you said I'm retired, I'm gonna play one more.
With that being said, because we're talking about running backs on this show, that affects Leonard Fournette, and we will find out later this week. There's some kind of Tom Brady deadline. Can't remember what it was. He's got to retire in order to get paid a certain amount of money prior to a deadline. So he's got to make the decision this week. Otherwise, or I guess maybe not. He could screw the Buccaneers
if he wants to. Yeah.
Because if he waits, they have to pay him into the new league year or something like that, and then he would hit the cap for 22 if he doesn't retire prior to then.
Which
would be funny, dude.
Would be funny.
Seth Wickersham also reported, complete side note, he reported that Brady would be interested in a one-day contract with the Patriots. I don't even know.
Well, I would hope so. I hope so.
I don't know how that would be possible because he's still under contract. He would have to retire, unretire.
Yeah, he would have to retire.
Unretire, come back, sign a contract, retire again. That's too much work. That doesn't happen today's day and age anymore.
That's true.
He'll come back here and he'll have. Would it be surprising if he retired and came to New England and did a retirement press conference here?
Yes, that would be.
That would be. I feel like that would be.
How about instead of signing a one-day contract, he signs a 1-year contract and he starts.
And then he starts and plays the whole year.
Yeah, him and Max switch week to week.
Patriots fans, man. Oh, I hate us. I was watching the Chiefs on Sunday, and I realized something.
What was it?
How it feels to be a non-Patriots fan all those years watching Tom Brady.
Yeah. Now imagine that times 20. It was like 20 years.
Except that he actually wins games.
Yeah.
So anyway, Leonard Fournette. I'm gonna venture to say Chris Godwin's gone, Brady's gone, Gronk's gone, Godwin's gone, Fournette's gone. And the only way to keep some of that core together would be going out and doing something crazy like getting Rodgers or getting Russ, something like that. And I would even
try.
I would even venture to say that Bruce Arians might be done too if all of this does happen, because this is a reset. Offensively, this is a reset.
Yes.
So, to me, to set forth the conversation about Leonard Fournette, I really don't think he's going back to the Buccaneers.
Which would hurt his value.
I agree.
Automatically. Because there's really no possible landing spot, except there is one that could be beneficial, and that is the Buffalo Bills. Now, the way Devin Singletary played, though, at the end of the season, people think that they might not be interested in running back. But for the whole season,
Buffalo.
For the whole season, they were interested. Well, there was rumors that they were going to draft a running back this year, and were interested in upgrading the position. He would make sense for the Bills. As like a playoff presence as well, a veteran guy. But other than that, if Brady retires, Fournette's fantasy value just is gone because he's either going to stay with the Bucs, and they're probably going to go with a different quarterback, a younger quarterback, unless they can get Russell Wilson or Rodgers, which I don't think is likely. They just don't have the draft capital, in my opinion, to do that. You could look at the Dolphins that we talked about. That's would be okay. I think that would probably be a good case scenario. The Falcons would be disgusting, especially if they let Patterson walk and somehow are able to get Fournette.
I was going to say another team on this list has a running back who played well this year on a 1-year deal. It's James Conner, who we're going to talk about later. Leaving Arizona without a running back as well. If he was to walk, Fournette could be a good option there as well.
Yeah, not too bad.
I think he would seek a contender. And I'm not even I'm thinking like I could see something, because go look at the Ravens running back situation. They got Dobbins, but they're a classic 1-2 punch team. Gus just came off an injury, and I think he's like 30. So it's like that would be an interesting landing spot for Leonard Fournette as well, to go be kind of a 1-2 punch Mark Ingram-like player with the Ravens.
If he's willing to do that and be like a second kind of piece, you think
they
the
don't
Titans
need it?
could
It's
call
just
him
like an option
as a pass catching running back.
Say it again.
The Titans as a pass catching running back.
That would be
Their
interesting.
down guy.
They still don't use the running back position like that.
No, not really. But I mean, if you have Fournette, maybe you do.
So I think the big problem with Fournette right now is that he is currently at the age of 27 years old. and he's old, but he's not like dead yet. So
No.
And he can still play, and he could still be a workhorse. And I honestly think if he wants to be a workhorse, he'll go to Miami.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to be a workhorse, then he'll go somewhere else.
I think
to win.
At this point in Fournette's career, he sacrificed a lot the last 2 or 3 years, where he was playing behind Ronald Jones for a while. He had got cut by the Jaguars, but he went out, did what nobody thought he would, and kind of improved his career in a way that not many people expected. Ended up winning a Super Bowl. Do you think at this point in his career, he just wants a big contract and the opportunity? He's like, okay, I've proven that I can be this guy and this leader and this team player. I just want opportunity the rest of my career and the money, or he's tasted it and he wants to just stay in that role that he's in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could go either way. But I think he's got gas left. It's just, it depends on opportunity. And if he goes somewhere where there's a lot of that, then it's not going to be good for him. But I actually think Miami would be a decent landing spot for him, because I don't think their offense blows. I don't think it's a great offense, but I think they lack certain elements that Fournette would kind of fill.
Yes.
So I don't think he would be a bad fantasy asset in Miami. I don't think he would be incredible. It'd be similar to what he was doing with Jacksonville, but a little bit less.
Yeah.
So I would say running back 15 to 20.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
But anyway, that is Leonard Fournette. The next guy, I'm trying to find my tab here. The next guy is James Conner, who I just referenced really quickly. He obviously was in Pittsburgh, left Pittsburgh this year. Pittsburgh got Najee, and he goes to the Arizona Cardinals. Another really interesting player, because we talked about these top 3 running backs. Leonard Fournette was running back 7. Cordero Patterson, running back 9. James Conner, running back 5.5 PPR. So these guys had efficient seasons this year in fantasy football, but could possibly leave their team. I'm going to say that James Conner is going to stay in Arizona. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he can get a featured running back slot anywhere, and I think he likes it in Arizona.
Anything, that's where you could potentially get the featured running back spot. If he stays in Arizona, I think it's probably the best case scenario for him. Yeah, and I think the team really likes him. Obviously, they're going to try to get him back. Again, similar to Patterson, the only way I think he leaves is if a team just in free agency offers stupid money to him, and it's impossible to decline.
Yeah, I agree. Hold on one
second. But if he stays in Arizona and the running back room, we'll talk about the next guy, kind of stays the same for the most part. Let's say the next guy leaves. And it's really just Conner. He could be really, really solid for fantasy next year.
I agree 100%. It just depends on the health. He's obviously had some problems with health. He also PFF grade out of 61 running backs. He was also 6th, tied with Cordial Patterson.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Chase Edmonds is next. This might be a quid pro quo here.
Yes.
Which running back do you want to run with?
I think the Cardinals are honestly going to run with Conner the way he played. And Edmonds might be the guy that gets the most money in the market because of the role that he can play on contending teams. I know I brought up the Titans and we said they don't use running backs like that, but imagine him as a complementary piece, a passing running back to Derrick Henry, that sort of thing.
I think that's all that role
perfectly. I agree with that. He's not a workhorse. I think we've shown that this year, but he's fantastic as a passing down running back. And there are some teams that I think would pay good money for Chase Edmonds. And I'm not saying this would stink for fantasy, but I could see the Patriots being a team that could be interesting in Chase Edmonds, especially if James White is gone and retires and plays that role.
Yeah, that's actually not.
So Brandon Bolden is back to special teams, and it's Stevenson, Harris, and Edmonds, because you know how the Patriots are with the running backs. I could see that as being a real possibility. But a team like that, a situation like that, where he's not going to be the workhorse, but he's going to have definitely a role in the offense as a pass catcher.
Do you think that $6 million is too much for a team like the Patriots to pony up? Or?
For the Patriots, maybe it's not going to be too much for other teams, but for the Patriots, it might be. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not a bad landing spot either. I don't think, like you said, I don't think Edmonds is going to end up being. I don't think teams are going to pick him up as a workhorse. I really don't.
Yeah,
I think he's going to go to a team that needs. Like last year, Detroit signed Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is pass catching running back.
Yes.
I don't know why you would add that to DeAndre Swift, but anyway. Don't ask questions about what teams who are bad.
Because he, at least with Jamal Williams, I mean, side note, but he's a very physical running back, while Swift is more like a shifty.
Yeah.
So at least they complement each other in that way.
So Chase is going to go to a team that not necessarily needs a running back, but likes to fill the holes with certain players. And so, like Rick said, New England doesn't need a running back right now, but both their running backs are not excellent pass catchers. And Edmonds can come in and fill that role in this offense, similar to what James White was doing. So, you could see that. You could see other teams doing that. I could see the Eagles, who love their running backs.
Yep,
I could see that. But you just have to keep an eye on him. He does provide PPR upside depending on where he goes. I will say this too. I don't like it, but Frank Reich is obsessed with the running back position and having multiple guys. But I could see Chase Edmonds go be a pass catching running back.
Should be so gross, but yeah.
Nyheim Hines is good enough, but I could see them getting.
He is. On that. I wonder if he's a free agent though, and also this PFF article that we're looking at kind of compares him to Kenyon Drake last year, which I think makes a lot of sense. Yep. Nobody expected Drake to sign with the Raiders. It was totally random, but it's probably going to be something like that. And the contract is similar too, 2-year, $11 million. It's probably going to look like something like that.
Yep. Sony Michelle is the next guy on this list. He had a decent season replacing Cam Akers. I could see him just going back to Los Angeles, them re-signing him, but I don't know. I don't know what the market would be for a guy like Sony. Like, he reminds me similar to Chase, not in a pass catching role, but somebody who could be like a secondary 1-2 punch guy. I could see him going to Baltimore, as a landing spot. But I don't see him like going and taking the lead role at, in Miami or anything like that.
No, I could see him staying with the Rams too. Seems like he fits there pretty good, but they're not going to pay him a lot of money. No, there's no fan, especially with Cam Akers back. There'll be zero fantasy upside. Only as a handcuff. If the next guy we talk about, I hate doing this again, but if he leaves, that team could maybe use like a secondary running back. Wherever he goes, he's probably just going to be like a handcuff type. Yeah. A backup running back. But he still has a role in the NFL.
He has a role in the NFL, but not on your fantasy teams.
Yes.
Melvin Gordon is hitting the free agent market this year. I love you, Melvin Gordon. It's been a fun time, but I think it's over. I think Melvin Gordon is over.
This is I think workhorse.
Yes, as a workhorse.
Starter caliber.
I don't think he's going back to Denver. I do not think he's going. I don't think they want him back. I think they want to go with Jamal.
I agree with that.
Javonte. As far as where he could go, I have no idea. I could see him signing with an established playoff football team, and try to make a run at it. But I don't think he's not going to go to Miami or a workhorse team. I think, has he won a Super Bowl?
No. He's played with the Chargers and the Broncos his whole career.
So I kind of look at Melvin Gordon. I don't know what honestly, he's at that point in his like career where, do you remember when like Gurley became a free agent and some of those guys, like he still has gas, but like where he just hits the free agent market and just doesn't get signed.
Yeah,
he's that happen. He said that he would love to re-sign with the Denver Broncos. Yeah,
I was going to bring that up. He tweeted that he wants to be back in Denver next year.
Okay. So I feel like best shot for him is Denver. What does that mean for fantasy value?
I think even if they bring him back, it's not going to be a 50-50 split. It'll probably be like a 70-30. And Gordon's going to get less, which is honestly, I think there's a little more game left in Melvin Gordon than those other guys you said. Like he still shows flashes of being good. He's 28, so he is old, but he's still like he's 2 years younger than Patterson.
Yeah.
So I think he's probably got like 2 years left in him of being an okay NFL running back. He's no longer a great NFL running back like he was, right. In 2016, 2017, 2018, those years. But I think he's still good enough to play a role again, whether it's with the Broncos or maybe he goes to a contender. He's played in 2 AFC West teams before. What if he goes to the Chiefs as like a change of pace back with Clyde? I could see that. The Chiefs will probably be interested in a running back this offseason.
Yeah.
As just like a depth piece, I guess, with Clyde.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think a contending team makes sense for Melvin Gordon if he leaves Denver, but it's not going to be fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I agree. Final guy, Rashad Penny. He had a stretch at the end of the season makes me sweat. And I like Rashad Penny. There's 2 issues with Rashad Penny I think that are key. He is kind of getting older. 25-year-old breakout running back is not really a thing.
Yeah.
The only good thing about him is that he spent so much time either A, being hurt, or B, just sitting on the bench. He really doesn't have any like official workhorse wear and tear on his body. So he could last for a couple more years, like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yes.
I don't know what's best for him because right now it sounds like Russ is out in Seattle, but we thought that last year and he's not out in Seattle. Well, he wasn't. I don't know. We could see Russ go back to Seattle Seahawks. If he goes and then Rashad Penny resigns with the Seattle Seahawks, I don't know what that means because they still have Chris Carson. And I don't know what that means for his fantasy value either. Even if Chris Carson were just magically to disappear and not be there, what it would mean for Rashad Penny as a workhorse there when you have a terrible offense without what's his name? Russell Wilson.
Russ.
I can't believe I forgot his name. I said it 10 seconds ago. Anyway.
Yeah, so, it's not... Go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Okay. I was going to say it's not a guarantee he gets traded. The last report I saw was Russell Wilson, quote, wants to explore his options, reported by Ian Rappaport this offseason. But it comes down to the Seahawks. They have full control over him, so they can trade him if they want or not. If Russell Wilson stays and Penny re-signs with the Seahawks, I love Penny next season. Obviously, health is going to be a concern, but he could be the workhorse there, especially with Chris Carson potentially not playing football again. So Penny could be a real workhorse there. If he leaves or Russell Wilson goes, it's really going to depend. I still would think he's okay on the Seahawks, even if Russ goes, but not as good because that offense is going to probably blow. It was already not great with Russ.
Yeah.
Probably going to really suck without him. If he goes to a new team, it's going to all depend on landing spot situation. But Penny is in an interesting spot because if he can stay healthy, I think he's more appealing as a workhorse guy than like a Melvin Gordon or even a James Conner, definitely Sony Michelle. Youngest guy on the list, showed a lot of pop at the end of the season. Like from week 14, where he finally got the workhorse carries, to week 18, he was a machine. He was averaging 8 yards a carry, then 3, then 7, then 6, then 8 again.
Wow.
He put up, 6 touchdowns in that 5-week stretch, 6 rushing touchdowns, had not only over 100 yards in almost all those games, but like significantly, like 137, 135, 170. He had 190 yards rushing in week 18 against the Cardinals.
Wow.
He showed a lot of pop, and I'm going to be interested to see. He's a guy to keep your eye on for fantasy this year.
Yeah, some potential landing spots for him, according to Pro Football Network: Cardinals, Falcons, Dolphins, Bills. If the Bills
Kind of the
is
teams
on
we all
January
mentioned.
2nd before Devin Singletary became sweaty, but I'm okay with any one of those teams. Falcons are a little bit more. Falcons and
Falcons
Dolphins are a
gross.
little bit more concerning, but I think with the Falcons, it's a better version of Cordero Patterson.
Sure.
With the Dolphins, he's way better. Like he would improve that team.
He would be the workhorse.
He would be the workhorse there. He'd be the workhorse in Atlanta. He would definitely be the workhorse in Arizona. And I think the Bills, if he brought them there, he would, I think, eventually earn a workhorse role with them.
Yes.
So I think his days of playing with Seattle are going to be over unless Russ comes back and they decide to bring him back. Chris Carson was such a waste of money contract. Look, they should not have brought Chris Carson back. They should have just ran with Rashad Penny from the start.
The Seahawks are so dumb, man. I don't.
They really are.
Do you want to see this report from a couple days ago?
Go ahead.
They want to keep Russell Wilson and trade for Alvin Kamara.
What? Is that legitimate?
So let me see who is it by? I'm not sure who this was. But yeah, the Seahawks are interested. Which makes it NFL.com's Nick Shook. I don't know who that is. Works for NFL.com, so
Okay.
take it with a grain of salt. But still,
Yeah.
like, why? It makes no sense. Just so you can go 9-8 next year.
I feel like, with Sean Payton being gone in New Orleans,
I could see Kamara getting traded.
and Kamara are definitely going to be traded, but I feel like they're going to be traded. But why would Seattle say to Russ, "We're going to go get Alvin Kamara"?
Yeah, dude, imagine Kamara on the Chiefs.
No, I'm good. I know what you mean. Fantasy-wise, I'd start sweating.
Yeah.
But real life, I'd be like, frick all of us.
I know.
But anyway, any more thoughts on Penny?
No, I think that's it.
Okay,
It's going to be interesting to see where he goes.
There's a lot of interesting guys here on this list for the free agency running backs. Going to be interesting to see what happens. I do feel like a lot of them are not going to return.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like some of them are going to make the move. We'll see what happens with those guys. Thursday's show, guys, we have so I'm not even in the right month. We have ADP analysis with some first real ADP for 2022. Be sure to check that out. We'll see you later, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.